Hi, so we're back. It's already week 2, which is hard to believe. I think it's probably going fast for you as it is for me as well. So today we're going to be talking about creating your ideal environment to do your sermon prep in. And one of the reasons this is so important is because writing sermons, if it's new for you, it may not be new for very long. And we get into a routine, we get bored, just like we do with anything else, even for writing sermons. So it's important that we treat ourselves well and we make it be an environment that is conducive to doing our best work. And not only to give it our best, but also to be our most efficient, because we've all got a lot of things to do and we don't want it to take longer than it has to. Even if we're having fun and we want to linger, it might be best to move on and get on with our other responsibilities. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is your best environment. So first, when we're thinking about sermon prep as a prayer process, I want you to think about, where is it that you already go to pray? What is your best environment to pray in? So do you like to have quiet? Do you like a candle, fragrant oils, flowers, something to look at? Or do you like complete and utter silence, no distractions whatsoever, to have it be a dimly lit place and to be in complete silence? Well, there's a reason that you resonate to one environment rather than another. Anything can work as long as it works for you. So when we're doing our sermon prep process, this is another thing that we need to do. And one of the most important things that I can offer to you is to create as much of a routine as you can. Now, having said that, I'm not a person who likes routines because I get bored with them almost as soon as I start. I don't like to be told what I'm going to do. So I don't like routines. But here's the thing. Even for people like me who don't like routines, they really work for sermons. And this is why. The creative process is actually primed to go best when, just like going to sleep at night, when we prime our minds to slow down and go to sleep, when we prime our minds and our bodies to be creative, to be receptive rather to the Spirit, then we are going to do our most efficient and best work. And we're going to get ourselves into a creative frame of mind rather than a problem-solving mind. And setting up a routine is part of what makes that the most conducive to doing our sermon prep. So I want you to think about where are the places and the environment that you might need to go for different parts of sermon prep. And there might be a different environment you need for different stages. Now, I'm fortunate to have a really beautiful backyard, and I will do as much as I possibly can in my backyard whenever I possibly can. Whenever the weather allows for it, I'm in my backyard. So even if it means I have to carry a tray of books stacked like this in order to get it out to where I work and take multiple trips back and forth, I'll do it, because being outside for me is the best place I can possibly be. So I'll do every stage of my work outside if I can manage it. Otherwise, I have a lovely home office, and I will get that straightened up. I'll pull out all of my books. I'll get my best cup of coffee going and be as quiet as I can. I'll close the door if my family's at home. My office is here in my house. So I'll close the door. The dog is usually on the inside with me because he's a wonderful presence for me, and that's my best environment. And for each stage of that is true for me, other than my initial prayer time. And when I pray, I like to be away from the place that I don't, that I don't work. I don't want to be in my office. I might choose even a different spot outside than where I do my work. So when I first come to my prayer time, before I start to do my sermon prep, I will do that in a separate location other than where I will do the actual work. So I do like to separate that out. That lets me remember that I am there with a time with God aside from work. I'm there just to be alone with God and for no other reason. So then there are different stages of doing sermon prep. There's prayer, as I said. There's doing your initial Bible reading in Lectio that we will talk about in a couple of weeks. Then there's also doing your study where you're going to be, you might need several books, and you're also going to need to write or some way record your thoughts. So each one of those might require a different set of conditions. And in Craft an Effective Sermon by Friday in Lesson 2, you're going to be going through these in detail to figure out which environment you need for your best steps. And one of the things in there, again, for people like me who don't like routines, one of the things that you can do is create surprises within routine. So let's say you're a morning person and you like to do, you do your best work in the morning, but maybe you want to do it in a different place. So maybe you've got 2 or 3 places, maybe your backyard, your home office, and your closest coffee shop. Maybe those are all equally good for you for doing your writing. So maybe you write those on popsicle sticks and you pull one out. That's something that I do so that I shake it up a little bit and I get a little bit of a surprise, even if it's sort of a constrained surprise. So that's something for you to consider if you don't like routines. So go through the Craft an Effective Sermon by Friday and figure out what your ideal work environment is. And that is a good place to start. But not only is the environment where you're going to be a good place to start, but you also need to think about how will you eliminate distractions so that you keep your flow going as much as you possibly can. And one of the things that I would suggest that's not in Craft an Effective Sermon by Friday is that you figure out how to shut off all of your distractions. So putting your computer on Do Not Disturb and your phone, and there's which is very important so that you have uninterrupted time. There are psychological studies to show that every time we get interrupted, there's about a 10-minute lag before we get back into the flow of what we're doing. So eliminating as many distractions as possible is going to get your process to be as efficient as possible, as well as listening to the Spirit as intently as you can. There's an app that I really like. It's called Focus at Will. And I don't make any money for doing this. It's just my personal recommendation. So it's Focus at is the @ sign, Focus at Will. And there are a whole bunch of sounds that it will produce so that you can, it's designed with your brain waves to keep you as focused as you can. So if I'm really working hard on something, I'll use Focus at Will all the time. And that really helps me get very, very focused. So that's something that I can recommend. But whatever works for you, whether it's silence and you need to put in earplugs, or listening to music, or listening to bird sounds, whatever you need that will keep you in your zone is going to make your process the best that it can be. And I just scrolled through too many pages as I'm looking at my, all right, here we go. So the other thing that I would say is for our minds to not be distracted is to do a brain dump. And I cannot tell you how important this is to get all of this stuff in our heads out of our systems. So if you think about, if you go to the grocery store and you go without a list and you're thinking about what am I going to make for dinner, and you're wandering the aisles, it's going to take you a really long time before you settle into this is the stuff that I want, and this is the stuff that I need, and this is what I'm going to get. As opposed to deciding in advance, what am I going to cook, going with a list, you're in and out. And in part, that's because you don't have to think about the list. That's why you write it down, is so you don't have to think about it. If you're trying to remember or list or figure out what you're going to do when you're on the fly, then it's much more stressful because your mind has just got too many things to hang on to all at the same time. So a brain dump is really important. Get out your to-do lists, get out the things you're thinking about, get out your emotional level, feeling worried about the sermon, or being worried about your Aunt Gladys who is on her deathbed, or whatever it is that has got you, is holding you back from being fully invested, fully present to the process of the moment is terribly important. So doing a brain dump with either writing to-do lists, get out your calendar, do a mind map, whatever you need to do to get all of that out of your system, again, will help you be fully present to the moment, listening to the Spirit, and being as efficient with your time as possible. So ease into your routine. Find a way that works for you as well, whether that is going to be listening to 5 minutes of music, stretching, doing a little bit of exercise. Prepare your table, your environment. Choose the time of day. Choose what you're going to listen to. Do your brain dump. Follow the instructions and craft an effective sermon by Friday to figure out exactly what you need to do. And then your process will also be as efficient as it possibly can and also bring you the most joy. See you next time.